Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I am so excited to have Jenny Swisher here. Jenny is someone I feel so incredibly blessed to work alongside every day. She is an integrative health practitioner, personal trainer, nutrition coach. She's the creator of Sync and just has a tremendous heart to serve in the women's health space. And so today we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the partnership that Jenny introduced me to alongside Sync. And we're going to dive into just really, truly how powerful and awesome this company is and why it's an incredible opportunity. So Jenny, thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited to be here, Erin. I love just chatting with you. We voice message back and forth almost daily, and it's just been a blessing to get to be your friend and to kind of ride this life together.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm so grateful, Jenny. So I would love to just kind of start with you talking a little bit quickly about your background and where you or why or how you landed into where you are now with Hugh and Grace.
Yeah, goodness. So if you would have told me like 15 years ago that I would end up in hormone health and fitness and nutrition, I would have thought you were crazy. I actually had a corporate job working in book publishing for Dummies books. If you're familiar with those black and yellow For Dummies books, that's what I did for 6.5 years after graduating college. I thought my future was in book publishing, but I started having my own health struggles. For me, it was chronic migraine issues in my 20s, which ended up, that was a maybe 5-year journey that really still continues to this day to some degree. And in my late 20s, dealt with infertility, quite the journey there. And so all of a sudden, I kind of had this epiphany that like hormone imbalance was really the root of what was going on for me, for both the migraines, the infertility, a lot of things, right? Even anxiety attacks, things that I was experiencing in my mental health too. And so I started to just kind of dig deeper for myself. And I guess it was probably around 2010, I stumbled upon the company that I was with previously, which was a home health and fitness company that had some nutritionals. And I thought, okay, well, I've tried everything else. Like I've done everything in the modern medicine world. I've even tried yoga and acupuncture and chiropractic. And,
Right.
I've had neck surgeries. Like let's try exercise. I don't know. At this point, I can't make things worse, And so I didn't, I hadn't really paid attention to my overall health. And that sounds crazy, but like, when you have a migraine every day, all you think about is how bad your head hurts. And so I had really kind of lost myself in that process. I had gained about 35 pounds. Truth be told, there was no libido. There was no nothing else, right? I literally was miserable. And so exercise, for me, it was P90X originally was the home program that I started with, was amazing because it reintroduced me to sort of that inner athlete that I was in high school that I hadn't really come in contact with for years. And so I got really back into exercise, got really excited about it, embraced that journey and really started to kind of just go with the company's products and learn more about nutrition. And that's really what turned me on to becoming, I don't want to say obsessed, but becoming, in love with realizing, oh, there's all this stuff within my control. Like exercise is within my control and stress management is within my control and nutrition is within my control. And so went on to get my personal training license, my fitness nutrition specialist license through NASM. And then ultimately I left my corporate job when I started to succeed in that business. We were starting to, I was starting to match my income at my corporate job with my company's income. And so what I ended up doing was I told my husband, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't go sit under fluorescent lights at work, like not moving. It just was against my nature. I was like, I need to be up and moving and I need to be around people. And so I took that risk, that leap of faith, left my corporate job, and we opened a gym, a 4,200 square foot fitness facility here in Indianapolis. And I loved it. I taught boot camp classes at 5 a.m., 6 p.m. I fell in love with my clients, the energy, the group fitness classes. It was addicting. And so addicting that, 3 or 4 years in, I really suffered with adrenal burnout.
Yeah.
I was physically just pushing myself too hard. I mean, I had finally overcome the migraines enough to feel good again. I was on HRT. I was, had gotten rid of the dairy and done all the things and kind of figured out my triggers for those things. And I was feeling so good. It's almost like I went on the other end of the spectrum and I just started sort of burning it out. And when my daughter was born, which fast forward to that story, both of my girls are adopted. When we adopted my oldest, my perspective and my priorities changed. Instead of being at the gym 24/7 and building my online business and pouring myself into people and burning myself out in the process, I was like, wait, I have this baby at home and the baby comes first. And so I hired a manager of the gym and I hired instructors and I kind of stepped out of the gym, ultimately selling the gym to a former NFL athlete that wanted to take over an athletic space. So it worked out perfectly. And I stepped out of physically training people and really just said, okay, I need to go all in on my online business. So at that point, we'd really built the business to a 6-figure income. My husband helped me with it on the side. He was teaching and coaching high school at the time. And I loved it for years and years and years. And I loved working with people, whether it was in person, in the gym or online. I loved the transformations, and I loved being able to set people up with the right solutions to achieve those transformations. But just like I had experienced burnout in what I was doing and sort of this obsessive exercise mentality, I started to see that in a lot of the women that I was coaching online and in person. And it was around 2019, my life coach, which I worked with a life coach for years, actually in my previous business. One of the things that I wanted to do to set me apart from other leaders in the business, and what I really wanted to be at the core of my team, was a personal growth mindset.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I know people are coming in here for fitness and nutrition, but they're really going to get personal growth with me. And so I hired a life coach. She's one of my very best friends. And she sort of just took hold on our team as just the resident life coach. She was in our team page every day. We did book clubs, masterminds, all the things. And I remember working with her in particular. And I said to her, I don't know, like there are certain things that I've experienced in my own health that I'm now seeing happen with other women, like women on my team, other women that we're coaching, and I can't unsee this. And I don't know how to really help them. And it was the gamut. It wasn't just obsessiveness with exercise. It was also, this sort of, I like to call it like before and after thing where people, like women, felt like they needed to use their bodies to sell health and wellness.
Right.
And she said to me, she's like, have you ever heard of Dr. Stacy Sims? She's like, she's this doctor that wrote this book called Roar, and she's very into like female physiology and learning what women need. And so I started to go down the rabbit hole of like, who is Dr. Stacy Sims? I ordered her book. I ended up enrolling in her courses on both menopause and cycle syncing at the time. And I started to learn about female physiology. And everything that I had gone through, from even just my infertility journey to adrenal burnout to, my body's changes from losing 35 pounds to then gaining weight and then losing it again, like the different things that I had experienced all started to make scientific sense because I was reading this book and I'm taking her classes and I'm realizing the role of hormone health in all of that. And when we get kind of sucked into a culture that is, I'll say an exercise culture that's really designed for men,
right,
women suffer. And so once again, like not to keep using this phrase, but I couldn't unlearn it. I couldn't unsee it. Like all of a sudden it started to make sense. Like women should be paying attention to their menstrual cycles. Women should be focusing on like, are we ovulating? Are we not ovulating? Like these are important markers that I know I was just glazing over as I tried to get 6-pack abs, ultimately feeling terrible. And so all of this kind of happened at one time. So I took her courses, and at that time I was kind of entering, I think, perimenopause symptoms for myself. So like migraines started to come back a little bit. I started to experience a little bit of weight gain. Like all of a sudden my body was shifting again. And so I was really diving into it more so for myself. Like how can I take the tools and the things that I've learned and that I use and that I love, like these home fitness programs, how can I take them and then turn around and tweak them? Like, how can I make them work for me? And so now looking back, I like to use the phrase, I think I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, I love that.
When a program is designed for male physiology, there really is no way to turn around and make it for female physiology. But I tried. I tried my hardest. I made new calendars. I would hit the pause button for extra rest. I would tweak the moves because I'm a personal trainer. So I would know like, this is not a functional move. I'm going to change it. So I started to sort of just use the home fitness programs that had really turned me on to fitness for years ago. And I tried to just sort of make them work for female physiology. And so I launched my course, the Sync course in 2020. And of course, I didn't plan on that being in time for the pandemic, but it just so happened it was like a month before the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden I remember initially about 68 women who reached out on one post because it resonated with them, because I said something to the effect of, have you been doing all the things that you used to do, but they're no longer working? And the messaging was so clear that I had so many women reach out and say, I don't know what you're doing, but I need to do it because I'm doing all the things. I'm doing the HIIT, I'm cutting the carbs, I'm following these containers, I'm doing this XYZ, and I'm not getting results and my energy is suffering. And so we launched the course and then sort of have built momentum with that course ever since. But I slowly started to feel like that square peg in a round hole situation. Like I cannot turn around and tell people like, women, you need to eat enough, you need enough protein, and then turn around and endorse a nutrition program that is not enough protein. It's not enough healthy fat for hormone health. I
Yeah.
can't make that square peg fit into a round hole, because what that really is misalignment. What that
Totally.
really is me saying, do it my way, not this way, which
Right.
brings more confusion for women, because they're like, well, isn't that what the program says? Like, why are you saying something different?
Right.
So, and the same thing with the workouts. Like, I can't put an asterisk next to every workout for a woman and tell her how to tweak everything for female physiology. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
So over the course of the last, 3 to 4 years, but really in the last year, we've kind of just stepped into, okay, like, if it doesn't align, let's just do something. Let's create the Sync Fitness program, right? Like, let's create our own program so that we do take the guesswork. So there are no asterisks. Every detail of this is designed for a female and her physiology. We're not going to use anybody else's nutrition program. We're going to use what women really need. We're going to talk protein guidelines. We're going to talk fiber guidelines. We're going to talk healthy fats and what they do for hormones. So we've kind of stepped into our own brand there. I would say, the last year we've had a lot of momentum around just helping women unlearn diet culture, helping women step into the new science that we now have on female physiology. And so I would say about a year ago, when I first met Sarah, who's the CEO of Hugh Grace, she just introduced me last weekend to speak on stage, and she said, no one has told her no more than me. So that's how I was introduced. She said, she's like, I've talked to a lot of people, and Jenny was like, no way, I will never do direct sales again. And listen, I have so much respect for direct sales. I have so much respect for the company I was with for 13 years. Had I never done that, I never would have been turned on to fitness and nutrition. I probably would have never reached my own maximum energy, because I wouldn't have figured out what I needed and what my unique body needed. I wouldn't have had the same journey into functional wellness had it not been for it. So I'm so grateful for that. It really is a matter of evolution. And I started to evolve and change and just no longer felt aligned. Right. And so anyway, so when I had that conversation with Sarah about a year ago, I probably should apologize, because the first time we talked on the phone, I was probably extremely rude, because I was very closed off to the opportunity. I said, I will never do direct sales again. I don't care how different your comp plan is. I don't care how different the company is. Like, I know it's hormone health. I know but I don't care, because I have been burned out. I have been part of politics that I don't want to be part of again. I've been, I don't want to like align myself and my personal brand that I have now built for 5 years. I don't want to associate it with something else. It just feels risky to me, and it feels like a distraction. So 4 phone calls later, and really doing a deep dive on the company, the products, where my heart was really with the whole thing, I did ultimately make the decision to leave the previous company and join Hugh Grace. And when I say I didn't take that decision lightly, I mean, it was really hard. It was really hard. I mean, there were tears. I talked to my husband. I mean, my husband has heard every, he's been in on every conversation. Like, he's heard every moment of like, what is this going to mean for our family? And I think, Erin, you were one of 2 people that I reached out to when this was all going on in my brain. And I was like, I just have to offload this on somebody and say, like, what should I do here? And you were one of a couple of friends of mine who were like, I don't know, Jenny, like, you've built something awesome. Like, do you really want to associate with another brand? I mean, and this is serious, you guys. Like, this is a real decision. And so, and knowing too that I literally have hundreds of women who follow my advice, who follow the podcast, who, making this type of transition is not something that I wanted to take lightly. So ultimately what changed the decision for me was I was on a call with Sarah, and she said, I want to say something to you, because she said, I hear you saying all these things all the time about, well, you don't want to do direct sales anymore. And you don't see yourself doing like team calls and doing, these different things that I had told her that I was really burned out with. Right. And she said, all I hear in those statements are you. And she said, I think what we need to figure out here, Jenny, is who are we here to serve? And she was like, are there women out there who need this? Are there women out there who need this kind of opportunity? Like, I mean, even financially speaking, right? Like, it's about impact and income. And so I started to think about the fact that like everything that I had built was a digital service, right? So podcasting is you can listen to it. There's nothing that comes in the mail. Digital courses, right? You're learning online. You can even take your phone with you in the car and listen to my courses and my videos. So everything that I had created was all digital, right? There's no shipping involved. But the number one question that I would get from women was always, well, how do I make swaps in my daily life? Like, you're teaching me about endocrine disruption. You're teaching me about hormone imbalance, like that's coming from these different environmental factors. But how do I change that? Right. And I didn't have a solution to be able to present to people because I certainly was not going to go out and source my own products. That was not something that was on my radar.
Right.
So to be able to say, like, Jenny Swisher is a brand and Sync is a brand, and I'm bringing women into this sort of educational atmosphere, this telehealth component that we have at Dr. Page, to be able to have everything that we have, and then also say, hey, you want to make some changes in your physical products? I have a company for that too, a company that I stand behind. So that was ultimately what was, the decision changer for me. But I also did a lot of research and legwork on the products themselves, how they get third-party tested, the transparency of the company and the ingredients. Because as I've said a million times, just because you're a hormone health company or have a hormone health product doesn't mean that it's legit. There is a lot out there right now and coming that are all labeled hormone health. Right. That are all marketing, and they don't necessarily have the customer's best interest in mind. So that was really important for me too. So that was a really long way of sharing my story, but I think it's important for people to know that, like, trust me, my whole life I was like the non-sorority girl. Like somehow I got in a sorority in college, but I wasn't, like, you would not picture me as a sorority girl. Like, this workout apparel is what I wore every day in college. And so, but I've somehow landed in that environment, like in almost everything I've done. And so for me to be in sort of like the non-traditional direct sales, with Hugh and Grace is just apropos for my life story. But I'm excited for it because I think, especially coming off of the event we had last weekend, to be in the room was what I needed. I needed to be in the room because I read a room really well, and I have an intuition, sort of like a leader's intuition about myself. And that was the one thing that I was like, I have got to get in the room with these people because I've got to really feel if this is for me. And as I was telling my mentor, I said, this was the right room. Like, I feel like I have been entering the wrong room for the last 5 years, trying to get people to listen, trying to get people to, that square peg in the round hole.
Yeah.
And this just felt like I'm finally in the right room.
Yeah.
Round peg, round hole.
Oh my gosh, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your story, where you've been and kind of where you're at now, where you're going. I know we've had a lot of conversations just about my own journey and trying to figure out exactly what it looks like for me to continue to step into creating my own personal brand, but also get aligned with partnerships that feel really good and that I feel confident in leading my clients and my family and other women and families too. And it's just been such a gift to just learn alongside you and be a part of the Sync community, and now start to get deeper into this Hugh and Grace community and the company and what they offer. I would love for you to maybe chat a little bit more about the event you went to recently at Elevate and kind of just speak a little bit more about company culture, what the vibe of the room was, and why this new aligned partnership for you just feels so different from what you've been doing in the past.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I would say that stood out the most is, I talk a lot about energy. I refer to everything as far as energy as when it comes to our health, especially. But the energy in a room is also really powerful. And, just to kind of reiterate what I said before, there were a couple of moments with my previous company where I entered the room and would actually physically feel ill. Like, there was a level of anxiety for me, whether it had to do with just the competitive nature of the sales side of things or just in general, just this sort of almost like toxic feeling. And I remember my husband telling me after my last event that I attended for that company, he said, "Why do you keep entering the room?" And it was a really pivotal moment for me because I thought, well, I am so loyal by nature. Like, I was the last girl standing on my high school basketball team. I was the only senior that stayed because we had sort of a borderline abusive basketball coach. And I'm not saying that you should stay in those situations, but for me, it was like, I am loyal to the end, right? Like, I'm loyal to the end. And so of course I would keep coming to the room. And so he kept saying, like, why do you keep entering the room? And it wasn't until then that I realized that I was in this sort of negative feedback loop. Right. And so stepping into the room at Elevate last weekend, I was extremely nervous. A lot of these women and leaders that I respect and have looked up to that are there, I've never met in person. So, and I'm sort of introverted by nature. So I'm very extroverted on podcasts and behind a camera or behind a computer screen, but in person, I can be very introverted. And so, but it was a different feeling. So the very first thing, first of all, is that Sarah and Ben, the CEOs of Hugh and Grace, are in the room with you, and they literally, like, Sarah came up to me and hugged me within seconds of me getting there. She wanted a picture. She wanted, and then, we probably hugged like 15 times over the course of 2 days. And the intimacy that's there between the CEOs and the leaders. They say that the advocates really are the center point of the business. Like they really have such a focus on the advocate side. They stood on stage and welcomed every person to stage with a hug. There's just this genuine, authentic feeling in the room.
Right.
So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing that I want to call out is anytime you're in business with other women, there can sometimes be like politics and competitive nature. And the one thing that I see and respect the most is actually that, at one point they recognized the top 2 sellers on stage. And when they did this, both of these women are amazing women and they both have a lot of influence on social media and whatnot. And as soon as they announced like who was first, who was second, what their numbers were, all the things, the 2 of them just hugged and immediately after went right to collaborating. I'm in a text thread where they're in the same text thread. They immediately went into collaborating on how both of them work their business differently and how they could come together to help the whole network work their business in different ways. And there wasn't a competitive nature of like, she's this, she's that. It was this women empowering women, breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I would say is that every person in the room is seen. So they gave away Hugh and Grace awards at the end of the banquet, and they had it's like 3 different awards for Hugh, 3 different awards for Grace. I'll botch it, but it's like love, generosity, kindness, whatever. And they choose different advocates that they give the awards to. Yeah. What I loved the most was that they didn't give the awards to the top sellers necessarily. They gave them to like one woman got the award because she shows up to every Power 30 call.
Yeah.
So the fact that they see you, they recognize your efforts, they recognize your mission, it's such a refreshing thing. Yes, a much smaller crowd, but growing. The fact that we're launching new products every month from now through spring. The business has grown 400% since I joined in December.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing opportunity to be a part of. And to be honest with you, it feels like a thriving environment where I felt very much in survival mode for the past 4 to 5 years in my previous company.
Yeah. And I relate to that. I know in the conversations we've had, it kind of felt like autopilot, right? You were just kind of in that autopilot state of mind. And so many of the conversations we've had along my own pivoting journey have been around the same concept of like, I feel like I'm not in the right room. I feel like maybe I've just evolved beyond where I've been. And while I'm so grateful, I'm just looking for a different kind of opportunity that's going to expand with me. And that's really what Hugh and Grace has provided for us as coaches and as people that are building our own personal brands, but also really want to have intentional resources and partnerships where we can point people confidently to amazing products and amazing education alongside what we're doing. Jenny, I'd love for you to share a little more about the opportunity with Hugh and Grace. You really introduced me to it, right? And I was just like you, super hesitant. No, thank you. I've done the direct sales thing. I never want to do it again. Literally completely relate to all of your feelings of burnout and just no. Hard no. And, my own evolution of getting to this place of warming up to this idea of direct sales again is a lot of thanks to you, right? Because you really helped share your story, your experience, what you're really working to build alongside your own personal brand and influence. But then you also really mentored me and talked to me a lot about just how powerful it can be to align with other people that have a similar passion, are maybe doing a little bit of their own thing, or also want to kind of dive into a brand partnership, and just the power of that and being in alignment and being in the energy that really feels good, like how empowering that really is for your professional journey. So I'd love for you to maybe dive in a little bit about the opportunity at hand as an advocate and why you feel like this is such a great way for women to build an extra stream of income, build additional impact, and things like that.
Gosh. Okay. So I'm going to try to consolidate this, but I love this question. One of the things that when I was asked to speak at Elevate last week, I chose to speak about the power of your story. And I want to connect that here because we know that 72% of women will deal with hormone imbalance at some point. We know that women are dealing right now there's a gaslighting happening in women's health. We have a large percentage of women are dealing with things like PCOS, endometriosis, infertility. The list goes on. I mean, it takes the average woman 5 to 6 doctors to get a PCOS diagnosis. That's insane.
Insane.
Only 4% of women are utilizing HRT, thanks to the WHI study that was completely flawed 20 years ago. So we have a long way to go in women's health. So let me just start by saying, like, regardless of what Hugh and Grace is doing, this has been my personal mission for 5+ years, is to help educate women on the fact that, normal is not optimal. And until we step into our own self-advocacy we are potentially going to struggle, not only in how we feel, but we're doing our daughters a disservice too, right? As the mom of two girls, I don't want my girls to grow up in an environment where they're just handed birth control pills and they're not, their
Yeah.
mental health isn't taken seriously, or their, so I don't want to go down a tangent, but so I just want to start broad like that, because I want everyone to understand that like we all have some sort of story here. And so when you have your own story, like I said before, when you know better, you do better. And when women know the why, they apply. So like when you understand, like for me, when I started to understand why my body was holding on to weight or why I was adrenally burnout, I couldn't unlearn that, right? It's not like I could go back and be like, well, I think I still am going to teach 5 a.m. boot camp classes and just keep burning myself out, right? Like, or you learn about endocrine disruption and you learn about the average woman puts 168 chemicals on her body every day. You don't just learn that information and say like, oh, well, I really love my Mary Kay Cosmetics or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you don't just deal.
Yeah.
And so I think that when we know better, we do better. So we all have a story. There comes a point where we learn better. And as Sarah told me so eloquently, it's not about me anymore. Now I have a responsibility to turn around and say to Erin, like, Erin, have you thought about this? Like, or, my mom or my sister or my cousin or whoever it is. Like, and so I think it really is. And I find myself saying this often, that what I love about the Hugh and Grace opportunity is it really is that simple. It's as simple as I now know better. I've had this story and journey, and I'm here to show you that there's a better way. And it's as easy as just sharing that. And I think, at least in the previous model that I was in, I got all twisted because I thought I had to work harder, or I wasn't doing enough to succeed, or I don't know. It felt different. It just felt like I was working through mud. And here it's like this authentic thing that's just like I share a link in my stories, or I tell people about my new favorite whatever, and it's genuine to what I actually love and enjoy. It's easy, and then sales come as a result of it, and women are changing and making simple swaps and eliminating endocrine disruption as a result of it. So it's impact and income. My husband would be the first to tell you that I am not income driven whatsoever. It was right before Elevate that we finally set up my bank account with Hugh and Grace to be able to receive payment. Like I'm telling you, it is, when I say it's not a priority for me, I am very driven by impact. Very, very, very much so. And so for me, like in the beginning, I let him go deep on learning the comp plan and learning that, because for me, it was like, I was more interested in the products and the impact that I was going to be making. And so I say that because, as Sarah mentioned with Brownie Weiss and the Tupperware party, which she shares often, that was her reasoning for choosing a direct sales channel for Hugh and Grace. A lot of people don't realize Hugh and Grace is an established brand. We are in Four Seasons hotels, Waldorf Astoria spas. They just did a partnership with Bentley. We're doing a collaboration with FabFitFun boxes. Like, this is a brand that other brands are attracted to. It stands alone. They opened the direct sales channel to be able to afford this opportunity to mostly women, but men and women, to turn around and be able to make an impact and an income.
Right.
And the fact that it's simple, it's an affiliate marketing structure. So you're able to simply share it. There's no like strategizing. There's no, I hate to use the phrase like pyramid scheming, but a lot of people use that phrase anyway with network marketing. This is a completely different business model and comp plan, so that you are just afforded the ability to share what you love and then earn an income as a result. And it really is that simple.
Right.
The other thing that I want to say is, the residual income is something that I don't think we talk about enough in this sort of model. I was just talking about this morning too. In my previous model, I felt like I had to get everybody set up with like a fitness membership and a shake, right? But then it would like never really moved beyond that. And then it was like another year before they needed to renew their fitness thing, right? And it was my job to keep them on the shake product. And so I was working for free a lot. Like I was running groups, keeping people accountable and offering meal plans. And I always like to say I was running crockpot groups, and I was running, like I was doing all the things like as a free health coach. And then you look back and you're like, all of that for $30? Like, I'm not so sure. So it's crazy, but it's true. And the thing is with this model, what I'm seeing is we have 3 different product verticals. So we have skincare, we have nutritionals, which I can't wait to talk about, and we also have household care. And so it's all third-party tested, which to me is the most important thing, right? It's third-party tested. It's non-endocrine disrupting. It's transparent. The labels are transparent, all the ingredients listed. And what I love about this is, what I'm finding is that people come in because they're attracted to one thing. So like we just launched our new Triple Boost protein. So with my background in fitness and nutrition, I have a lot of people interested in the protein. So people will come in with the protein, but what I'm finding is they ask about our hydrate and detox too. So then they buy a bundle, not just the protein. And then they're like, oh, you have skincare, right? But it becomes a brand that they trust because of that transparency. And then they say, oh, well, I actually, I want to make some swaps in my skincare too. So they make the swaps in their skincare. We have a partnership launching in November where we're partnering with a mineral cosmetics company that is sealed and approved by Hugh and Grace as well. And it's literally, so it's, oh, I'll just make those swaps too with my makeup, right? And then I'll make the swaps with the shampoo and conditioner, and I'll make the swaps. So one person coming in, right? We've always known that 20% of your customers will purchase 80% of, contribute to 80% of your sales.
Right.
And we never had that opportunity before because it was all about just selling people one thing once a year. So this is different because now it's like you come in and I have people who purchased Triple Boost last week at launch. They're already purchasing orders this week for the skin serums or the facial cleanser or the household cleaner. And so that's a really, really powerful thing that people don't think about is we're able to serve people in all those different areas and not just work harder for free. So I think those are all pieces of the puzzle, but to kind of bring it full circle, we all have our own story. And we can share as much of that as we want, right? Like I don't talk a lot on my social media about like my kids' adoption stories. I mean, I think people who follow me know that my girls are adopted, but I'm not like sharing the details because I choose not to. But I might share pieces of my infertility story, or I might share pieces of my endometriosis story or my migraines. And just sharing things like that resonate with other women. The number of women who've been able to say, because I listened to your podcast or because I've taken your courses, I've now stepped into self-advocacy. I've found myself a new doctor and I'm finally on the right path. Like that's a really powerful thing. And so to just share your own story, even just the little pieces of it, and to be able to drop these products in is a great way to make both impact and income.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such a good explanation of the variety of opportunity. Because like you said, with the 3 product verticals, that's one of the things that I know for me was really enticing. Because it was just this different kind of flexibility and variety with really serving people exactly where they're at with exactly what they need. And I know when we've had our conversations over the past handful of years about, what my personal story has looked like, I resonated so much with this idea of feeling like I was positioned to really talk about one specific thing all the time. And with this specific partnership, there's so much more flexibility to really work with your people, talk to your audience and say, what is it that you really truly need? And how can I really intentionally serve you in that way? And that feels just really aligned and cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
Jenny, I'd love for you to kind of dive into Triple Boost. I know you mentioned it a little bit when you talked about our product verticals and things that you're excited about, but this is a new product that just dropped into Hugh and Grace, and we are all really pumped about this product. And I love how Jenny explains the benefits, the ingredients, why it's so powerful for females and for our hormone health. So if you could dive into that, I'd love it.
Sure. So one of the big things when I joined forces with Hugh and Grace last year, I was like, I don't know if they have enough nutritionals for me to hop on board because it was, that was a product vertical that I knew they were wanting to expand in, but was very limited in my opinion. We have an awesome collagen. It's a three type collagen. We have hydrate and detox, which is, I call it a twofer. It's your hydration, your electrolytes plus your detoxification benefits. We have the morning and night supplements, but I was like, we need more. This is, coming from a company that had protein shake and, different workout tools and resource, products, I was like, we need more here. And I knew that was my background too. So I was like, I'm not like the 10-step skincare girl, so I don't know how I'm going to make this work. Although I've become much more in tune with my skincare.
Yeah.
But, so that was a big thing. And when I was having conversations with Ben and Sarah in the very beginning, I'm like, where are you wanting to go with nutritionals? What are the things you're wanting to create? And so this product, Triple Boost, was the first product that we started to talk about. They said that it was in development. They were doing a lot of research behind it. And of course, there's a lot of work that goes into these things, right? Because not only are you sourcing, you're looking at appropriate sourcing and third-party testing, but you're also looking at, from a business perspective, they were looking at packaging, they were looking at, flavor, all these other components. And so I knew this was going to be one of the first things that they launched. And to kind of just fast forward though, they have a 2-year roadmap of all the different products that they want to launch in the next 2 years that are all kind of currently in research and development. So to even know that the company is planning 2 years ahead, these are the products, like I mentioned before, we have a product launching every single month from now through spring. That's incredible. For a new startup company, and they're in the first 5 years of their business, to have that kind of roadmap and to be seeing such exponential growth is so promising and so exciting. So kind of just reiterating that sort of thriving environment. But the Triple Boost product is amazing. First of all, what I want to say here is sometimes simple is better. Oftentimes simple is better. And I know that there are people that say things like, oh, but this product has 50 or 60 or 70 ingredients and they're all super powerful and nutrient dense. Yes, but can the body really tolerate that? right? And so in my situation, I do virtual telehealth consults with Dr. Page. We started to see a lot of women who were consuming protein shakes, I'll say, or protein powders, and they were having trouble with them. Maybe not digestively, but it wasn't necessarily benefiting them. It was causing confusion in their body as far as absorbing other supplements.
Right.
And so we really want to keep things simple. And so one of the things that I had talked about with Sarah and Ben early on was this better be a simple protein. And it shouldn't, I don't ever want to call it a protein shake, right? So it's funny because at Elevate, when they launched it, the advocate who was doing the training behind it said, everybody raise your hand and promise that we will never call this a protein shake. And because it's not, it's so much more health benefit. It just it happens to have the 20 grams of protein in it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what it is. There are really three main components to triple boost that make it so powerful. The first is the fact that it does have 20 grams of protein. Why does that matter? Because women in particular, but really men and women, are not eating enough protein. The average woman is consuming 40 to 50 grams of protein per day when she really needs at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. So I don't know about you, but I don't know any woman who weighs 40 to 50 pounds.
Right.
For me, I'm shooting for 135 to 140 grams of protein per day, which takes intentionality. And I don't always want to just have steak for a snack, right? Or chicken for a snack. And so, but I'm also not a huge fan of like highly processed protein powders and bars and all those types of things either. So the fact that this is just simple, it's just 7 ingredients, like it's just so versatile. And it gives me that 20 grams of protein. And all the protein here, is important to mention, is full profile amino acids. Yeah. So that means that you're getting the full amino acids that you need in that protein. So that's not always very easy to find, especially in a vegan protein, which this is. So we have the protein. We also have the branched chain amino acids, like I mentioned. For women who exercise, who tend to be who I speak to, leucine is incredibly important for women. So that's a great benefit for muscle recovery. I like using it pre-workout or post-workout. It doesn't have to be either one. People freak out like it has to be something. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can do it pre-workout, post-workout. You can do it as a bedtime snack. It doesn't matter to me. Getting it in is the key. The other angle of this, which is really cool, is the Icelandic blue spirulina that's in the product. It's what makes it blue, is actually rich in vitamin B12, and not just B12, but methylated vitamin B12. And the reason that matters is because 44% of people have what's called an MTHFR gene mutation, which prevents us, and I'm raising my hand because it's me, it's also my daughters, it prevents us from being able to really process and methylate B vitamins. So to have it in food form in a methylated B12 form is really critical for our bodies for proper absorption. So B12 is an energy boost, right? A lot of us have heard of like the energy drinks on the market. They are utilizing, vitamin B12, usually in the more poisonous version, the non-methylated version, and they're partnering it with caffeine and all the other things we don't need. But you've heard of these B12, like right, the energy shots or the IV bars that are doing B. This is even better because it's in food form from this Icelandic blue spirulina, which is a superfood, and you're getting 210% of your daily value of B12. So you're getting that natural energy from the B12. You're getting the 20 grams of protein, which helps with blood sugar regulation, helps with cravings because you're getting those amino acids that your body needs. And then you're also getting the branched chain amino acids. So last night I had one before bed. I decided just to see how I would do before bed with it. And of course, I love the flavor. It's like a subtle vanilla flavor, which kind of throws you off because it's blue. Yeah. So you're thinking it's going to be like blueberry or something, but it's actually vanilla, which is awesome. So it goes great in coffee. It goes great just mixed alone. But the reason I did it at bedtime is because I have been having issues with blood sugar regulation overnight. And so I wanted to just see, how do I feel the next morning if I drink this at night? And so this morning, I didn't wake up with any jitters. I didn't wake up feeling like I needed to eat anything. My Oura ring showed that I had, stable sleep overnight, no wake ups, which means I wasn't waking up for blood sugar crashes. So this might become my thing. I might be doing it at night just as sort of a craving curber, because I like to grab all the things I shouldn't have before bed, but also just to stabilize the blood sugar. So I think it's going to be a game changer. I think when we speak to women in particular, the number one issue that women are really up against with hormone imbalance, if you keep peeling back the onion, you keep peeling back the onion, you keep peeling back the onion, 80% of the time it comes back to blood sugar control. Right. And that blood sugar control has to do with the protein that they're getting, the healthy fats that they're getting, how we eat, right? Like the order in which we eat our foods. And then, a lot of women also falling victim to like processed foods and stuff like that. So I think that getting this type of supplement in our body, making sure that we're getting the amino acids that we need, making sure we're getting that little boost of protein and natural energy is going to be game changing for a lot of people. So I like to say it is a foundational supplement that is not a protein shake. It just has 20 grams of protein, which is really vital for just helping you sort of, stabilize that blood sugar and get the stuff that you really need for natural energy, which is what it's all about. So I'm excited for Triple Boost. I've been drinking it every day. My 3-year-old loves it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I'm excited for that. I'm excited for everything that we have coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, there's a lot coming down the pipeline, which is really exciting. Like you said, a launch every month until the spring, which is really exciting. And Triple Boost has been something our family's already been loving as well. And I've been really noticing just a shift in my energy, right? Kind of just that stable mood, stable energy, and just feeling a little bit more full and satisfied during those moments when I sometimes hit dips, specifically in the afternoon. So I have also been loving it. And I love that we just have this variety of resources that really we can really point women and families to. Jenny, as a wrap up quickly, I would love to talk a little bit about, let's address if someone's listening to this and they want to learn more about how do you join Hugh and Grace? How do you work with the two of us? How do you be a part of our team? What does that look like? What would you say to that person? What would you, encourage them with if they really want to learn more and explore what this partnership could look like for them inside their vision to serve in the wellness space?
Yeah. So, I think it's worth a conversation. I think a lot of times as women, we like, we turn things into a bigger thing that it needs to be. Right. And I love that Hugh and Grace is really just about simple swaps. It's a simple business. It's a simple business model. So let's not overcomplicate it. Like if you want to have a conversation, like let's have a conversation. If it's something that you think you could put into your toolbox as a resource to be able to help other women or other families with, why not? We do have different options as far as people can enroll as an advocate, which in my opinion is the best way. That's going to have the most earning potential, the most cost saving. There's also other options too. So we have affiliate options. If you're somebody who, you have influence online or you just want to be able to have that kickback link to share with other people, you can become an affiliate too. So I think each woman is unique and a conversation is worth having. But I also want to speak to sort of the elephant in the room, which is perhaps the person who's had a direct selling experience who, like I like to say, I was just telling a friend this morning, I think I have PTSD from my previous experience. Not that it was bad. It just, like I said, I felt like I was working for free and I really burned myself out, feeling like I was everybody's health coach, but watching my incomes decline. Like, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that I've learned over time. Yes, there is a degree of respect in loyalty, but there also comes a point where you have to ask the question of like, is this really aligned for me? And am I serving people on a deep enough level to really be able to serve them? Like I remember before all this happened for me back in 2019, when I first was introduced to Stacey Sims, before I ever thought about launching my own course, every year I ask God, like, what is my word for the year? And usually it appears in a podcast I'm listening to, or like something pops up. It's almost like it's just given to me.
Right.
And heading into 2020, the word I was given was serve. And it was funny because end of 2020, I asked the same question. Okay, I'm ready for my word. What's my new word? And January of 2021, it was very clear to me. It was the word serve again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and so every year since 2019, it has been serve every year. And I'm like, I can't get past serve. I want to serve women. And so if that means making people feel uncomfortable because I left what I was doing before to do something new, that's not on me, right? Because this is a choice I'm making because I know I'm able to now serve on a deeper level. I keep hearing from people that are maybe still with our previous company or they're in direct sales of some kind. They feel this sort of like, it's almost like this sense of comfort, but they don't necessarily see it that way. Like it's like this sense of comfort where they see like, well, people are going to buy this product anyway. I might as well sell it to them. And it's like, well, but is that really like, is it harming women? Like when I left the company, I didn't think it was harming women.
Right.
I just thought I wasn't aligned anymore and I had evolved. The further I step away, the more clearly I can see that it actually was and is damaging to women. It is a way of thinking. It is a culture. It is a breeding grounds for just health problems in general. And so I would beg the question. I would ask the person. I would say, I know that starting over might sound awful, right? Like starting from ground zero. Starting with zero customers, zero team members, or going through the rigmarole of what you've experienced before. But here's the deal. When I came into this, I said, I'm not leading another team. I'm not doing team calls. I'm not doing push to ranks. I'm not doing any of these things that I've done before. I'm doing this in the way that serves other women. And guess what? I've been able to do that 1,000%. And it has felt easy. It hasn't felt hard. It hasn't felt like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall for crockpot challenges. It hasn't felt like I'm working for free, on a monthly basis. It instead has felt very easy. I just opened my online office yesterday to a volume for our organization of over 40,000. And that actually surpasses surpasses, if it's not apples to apples, but it surpasses the volume in my organization at the peak of my business with my previous business. And it's been 9 months here.
Yeah.
I've not led one team call. I've not burned myself out. I've not done all the hard work for free. It's literally just, this is what it looks like to be aligned. This is what it looks like to have that round peg in a round hole. And this is what it looks like to really, really, truly serve people,
Right.
instead of selling them something that continuously damages them and then trying to teach them something different and burning yourself out in the process. So I think I'm trying to keep it simple, but I think there are people listening to this that are holding on. They're holding on to out of loyalty, but also out of this fear of doing something different, this fear of what other people might think, or this fear of doing something that's uncomfortable. And I'm so glad I did, because in the beginning, I had all those same thoughts and same concerns, but stepping into this room is something different. It's just something different. So it's been a blessing to do this with you, Erin, to do this with our growing team. It's you're in alignment when things start to feel easy.
Yeah, when they start to feel easy. And I also, just to kind of add to that, I think there's also a fear of, I don't want to do this again, right? I don't want it to feel the same. I don't want to go through what I've already experienced. And like you've already shared, Jenny, there's so much blessing in where we both came from and what we've learned along the way. And I think, I want to kind of wrap this up by saying I had Jenny really come on today and really talk through this and share her experience and share her story for two reasons. The first is because I really, truly, wholeheartedly understand on a very deep level everything that she has shared about her experience, the level of burnout, really wanting to get into a place of feeling aligned specifically with serving and being in this deep level of service. And that was really the route that I wanted to continue to figure out how to go down. And Jenny really opened up my eyes to the potential for opportunity beyond what I had already learned to do. And I also brought her on because I wanted to really have this level of a vulnerable conversation around, if you've maybe done direct sales in some capacity in the past and you feel like I can't do it again, I don't want to do it again. The experience has been great, but there's been things that have not been great. Like me too, and Jenny too, we wholeheartedly understand that. And I think it's really valuable to hear people's stories and perspective and really understand that there are incredible different kinds of opportunities out there if it's something that you feel like you want to step into learning more. So Jenny, thank you so much for being on today, for sharing your story, for sharing your heart around Hugh Grace, the opportunity, the incredible product suite. I'm just incredibly grateful to continue to do this work alongside you and to most importantly serve in a very deep way in the women's health space. It's been such an honor. Would you really quickly just kind of connect people to how they can find you online?
Sure. Yeah. You can find me on social media, just at Jenny Swisher on all accounts. And we have the Sync Your Life podcast as well. So if you're interested in learning more about hormone health, I know Erin does a great job educating here as well. So, but yeah, we would love to have a conversation. I mean, even if Erin and I hop on a phone call with you and we chat through what this could look like. What I love the most is this can be whatever you're looking for it to be. We have women on our team who are like, I just want to have an affiliate link. I want to be able to refer people into this program. Awesome. We have other people that want to build a team and they want to build an organization. We have other people who really just want to run groups, or they want to, run health and accountability groups. Like, that's great. Like, whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. And we really don't need to overcomplicate it. Like, it really is just about this bigger mission of helping everybody step into their story of self-advocacy and then advocating transparent products. So I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. Jenny, thank you so much. See you guys in the next one. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.